Vandami Bante, and good morning, everyone. Good evening for everyone in West Hemisphere. Welcome to today's lesson 29, the Compendium of Doors and Bases. I'm Janice Ong. I'm the meeting co-host who will be helping Bante and everyone in today's session. May we invite Bante to start the teaching, please? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good morning, everybody. And let's start our today's Abhidhamma study, paying homage to the Buddha, reciting Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, welcome to Abhidhamma study of Chapter 3 of Comprehensive Manual of Abhidhamma. Is the compendiums, about the 6 compendium. So in this lesson 29, we are going to study about the compendium of doors and the compendium of bases. The Abhidhamma Sangha mentioned 6 compendium in the chapter 3. So there we already finished 3 compendiums: compendium of feeling, compendium of roots, and compendium of functions. So in Pali, Virana Sangaha, Hetu Sangaha, and Kicca Sangaha, 3 are finished. And in today's lesson, in lesson 29, we are going to study 2 Sangaha of the Dwara Sangaha and Vatu Sangaha. So Dwara is door. So Dwara in English is used in Pali as a door, and Vatu is base. So compendium of door, Dwara Sangha, and compendiums of door base, Vatu Sangha. The only one compendium of objects, Aramana Sangha, is remaining to study for the next lesson. Okay, in today's lesson, so we need to know, first of all, the Dwara and Vatu. What are the Dwara and what is the Vatu? What are the Vatu? Okay, here the classification in the Abhidhamma Sangha show the 6 door, Cha Dwarani, and 6 bases, Cha Vatuni. They are very similar in the essence and also in the name. So I combine 2 Sangaha for 1 lesson. This is not difficult here. You see there for the Dwara, Chakku Dwara, Sota Dwara, Kana Dwara, Jingwa Dwara, Kaya Dwara, and the last one, Mano Dwara. But in the 6 places, Chakku Vatu, Sota Vatu, Kana Vatu, Jingwa Vatu, Kaya, here it should be Vatu, Kaya Vatu. So the facts are similar to the Dwara, and the last one is different, the Harya. And in case of Dwara, door, the last one is Mano Dwara, mind door. In the enumeration of Vatu, the last one is Harya Vatu, heart base. This is the difference between 2 classifications. Okay, so in the essence, the former 5, Chakku Dwara, Sota Dwara, Kana Dwara, Jingwa Dwara, Kaya Dwara, and also Chakku Vatu to Kaya Vatu. The former 5 related to the sensitive material phenomena. We can say that sensitive matter, that is, they are called the Pasada Rupa among the 28 rupa. There are 28 materialities. We will study them in chapter 6. Here, the 5 usually related to the occurrence of the mind being one of the condition. So here, there's the former 5 dwara and former 5 vachu. They are 5 sensitive matters in essence. So in the Abhidhamma study, we need to know the conceptual usage and the essence. Sometimes very similar, sometimes a little bit different. But in every case, we have to try to be able to identify by the essence so that we can use our Abhidhamma knowledge in our daily life. Here, the usage, Chakku Dwara, because the Dwara, the meaning of Dwaras, here, in the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma also mentioned that two ways to understand the word door, why they are called the doors. So firstly, when the door, the door is a channel or media through which the Chitta and Chittasika, so consciousness and mental factor, they go and meet, they go out and meet the objects. And another way to call the dwara is the objects come into the mind as the object, to be the object of the mind and object of the consciousness and mental factors. And they use these 6 channels to come in. So like that is similar to the going out of the consciousness and mental factors and coming into the objects, the door, similar to the door. In this way, it is used as a door, not really door. And also the consciousness and mental factor, they are not really going out. And it is given the example for the taking the objects so that we can understand easily in our daily life usage. So this is the dogs. And Vuttu is the base where the consciousness and mental factors arise, depends on them. They are called Vuttu. So Dwara and Vuttu. So in the essence, Chakku Dwara Ain door is actually eye sensitivity matter. It is one of the matter in 28. So in the same way, Chakku Vuttu Ain base also refers to the eye sensitivity matter in the essence. So when we use the word door, taking the example of 2 wheel, the consciousness and mental factor going off or the object coming in. At that moment, we use the door, reference to the eye sensitivity, eye door. And at the same time, when the eye consciousness arises, it arises based on the eye sensitivity materiality. That is why it is also used as the Chakku Vuttu, eye base. They are the same in the essence. That's why I put the essence in the middle of the Chakku Dwara, and Chakku Vuttu are the same in the essence of ultimate reality, which is called eye sensitivity. In Pali, it is called the Chakku Pasara. Then in the same way, the Sota Dwara and Sota Vatu have the same essence of ear sensitivity. Gana Dwara and Gana Vatu, the same essence of nose sensitivity. Jinwa Dwara and Jinwa Vatu share the same ultimate reality of tongue sensitivity matter. And Kaya Dwara and Kaya Vatu, that also the body sensitivity. So the former 5 Dwara and former 5 Vatu are 5 sensitive materialities in essence. Then the last one, difference. So Mano Dwara and Hariya Vatu. In case of Dwara, it is Mano Dwara, mind door. So Mano Dwara refers to the 19 life continuums, Bhavanga. We already studied about the Bhavanga in the Compendium of the function, Picture Sangaha, in the lesson 28. Then heartbeat, Hariya Vatu. So for the heartbeat, it will be a little bit complicated because it is not mentioned in the Pali Canon itself. Later we will focus on that in the focus of the Vatu 6 bases. So in this slides, we just need to know the 6 doors and 6 bases, and they share the form of 5, share the 5 sensitive materiality as their essence. And the last one different. Manodora refers to Bhavangas, 19 Bhavangas, and Hariya Vatu is one of the 28 materialities. Then let's continue to study specifically in the classification. So here in the Abhidhamma Sangaha, especially in the Dwara Sangaha, what mentioned is the first one, the Abhidhamma Sangaha enumerates the types of consciousness that arise through each door. So that is why that is called the classification by way of consciousness. So the Abhidhamma Sangaha first enumerate the consciousness according to the door. And secondly, it classifies the chittas according to the number of doors through which they arise. It means in the Kicha Sangaha, the compendiums of function, this 2 way of expression already used. The first way, okay, so some consciousness, so 44 consciousness are common to the 5 doors. So 5 doors refers to the former 5 doors related to the materialities. Chakku Dwara, Sota Dwara, Gana Dwara, Jinwa Dwara, and Kaya Dwara. They are called the Pancha Dwara. That is why the consciousness arises through these 5 things doors are called Pancha Dwarika Chitta. So let's see what are the 5 doors common to 5 doors of Pancha Dwarika. They are called the 5 door avartin, 1 receiving, investigating, mind door avartin. And here the enumeration, since pure jhana, in case of the function, the study of the function, we already know what are the jhana, and there are 55 consciousness that can perform the function of jhana. Here, if we count among the 54 sense pure consciousness, we can get 29 consciousness can perform the function of jhana. So here, what are these? The 29 sense pure jhanas refers to the 12 unwholesome spine producing one. This is the only one in the rootless consciousness, and great wholesome 8 and great functional 8. So the great resultant is not jhana. So altogether, there are 29 consciousness that can perform the jhana function among the 54 sense sphere consciousness. That is why we reinforce that one by the usage of sense sphere javana, kama vachara javana, 29. And registration 8. Here, why? The registration must be 11 according to the compendium of functions. But here, investigating 3 is already counted. So the investigating 3 are not counted again in the registration because they are the same in the essence, in the ultimate reality. So altogether, 44 consciousness, they are common to the 5 doors. It means they can arise every doors of the 5 sense door. Any doors of the 5 sense door, they can arise. Then another group of Dvipanja Vijnana. So, in the Chitta classification, the Dvipanja Vijnana, including the rootless consciousness, that quite complicated. In every case, we classify the consciousness. So here, Dvipanja Vijnanas arise only in the respective doors of the sense. So Ein door, so respective doors. That's why in Ein door, the Ein consciousness, only 2 Ein consciousness can arise through Ein door. Only ear consciousness can arise through ear doors among the Dvipanja Vijnana. So they have their own door for the Dvipanja Vijnana. And also, the Ein consciousness can arise through Ein doors alone. Ein consciousness cannot arise through ear doors. So we cannot hear, we cannot see by the ear. We can see by the eyes only. In the same way, the other 4 also, they can arise in the respective door. So each door have 2 consciousness that they belong to. Then if we count it for each door, so the common 44 consciousness and 2 their own, their individual consciousness. So altogether, each door belongs to the 46 consciousness, 46 chitta. So in this way, we can understand in Ein door process, there can be the 46 consciousness. And in the ear door consciousness, the 46, and nose door, tongue door, body door also belong to the 46. The difference is their specific consciousness. And the other 44 are the same. So in this way, we can count in the 5 doors what types of consciousness can arise in each door. So now we know the Ein door. Through the Ein door, there can be 46, and through the ear doors, 46. But 44s are the same, and only 2s are different in each door, Then let's see what we need to know more about the 5 doors. So here, the word used, the yataraham in Pali, it is according to the circumstance. So here, although the 46 can arise in each door, but they are not different. The 44 is the same. But they cannot arise at the same time in one process. So as we have discussed several times in this study, the mental process, you can remember how mental process arise. The cutting off the bhavanga process and 5 dot abundance start to arise. Being the beginning, a cognitive moment of the 5 dot process. So 5 dot abundant consciousness, after that moment also disappear after 3 phases. Then one of the things consciousness, or the two set of five-fold sense consciousness that is called the Pipanja Vijnana, and one of them arise. So sometimes if we see eye consciousness, if we hear ear consciousness, etc. Then after that, receiving consciousness arise. Then investigating consciousness arise. After that, determining. Then one of the 29 sense sphere jhana arise 7 times. Then registration follow to the jhana 2 times. Then again, the Bhuanga process starts and continue as long as there's no cognitive process arise again. In this way, when the 5-door process arises, the consciousness at the time of 5-door process refers to the 54 sense sphere consciousness. So we divide it in the 44 and 10 Vipanja Vijnana. But if we count collectively, they are 54 sense sphere consciousness. But in each door, the 46 can arise. But they are not arising at the same time. As you know, the 5-door abiding consciousness is only one. But in the I-door consciousness, that can be whether the wholesome resultant or unwholesome resultants. But 2 of them cannot arise at the same time. But each one, and one of them must be in one moment. Then after that, receiving consciousness also 2 kinds, wholesome resultant and unwholesome resultant. Only one must be in one moment, in one mental process. So in this way, 46 cannot arise together in one process. So at a time, the only one as determined by the condition can arise. So the condition is explained by the Venerable Paramata Tipani. That is, there are 4 conditions to determine that this determine the consciousness, the process of consciousness, which one should be in the process, although because the 46 cannot arise at the same time, especially the wholesome resultant and unwholesome resultant, they cannot arise 2 together at the same time, in one moment. So there are 4 conditions to determine the consciousness. So object, plain or existent, the individual, and attention. Okay, how these 4 conditions make the determination or the determinant for the consciousness? What is the object? So object can be the undesirable or desirable. So if undesirable, the object is undesirable, we can decide it, that one, at that moment, that arise the receiving for the 5-door abiding consciousness, there is no difference. The difference comes in the I consciousness. So I consciousness is unwholesome resultant and receiving. So among the 2, between the 2 receiving consciousness, it is the unwholesome receiving consciousness arising and taking the undesirable object and investigating. So there are 3 investigating. Among the 3 investigating, the unwholesome resultant, only one, that is investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. Then for the registration, so registration 11, that must be unwholesome. Unwholesome also, the registration is, you may remember, the registration is the combination of 2 groups. One is this 3 investigating and another group, the wholesome resultant. So only one of the unwholesome resultant concept of there in 11. So that is investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. So in case of Santirana, the investigating moment also, that consciousness is rise. And again, in case of the registration moment, performing the different function, that one type of this, the same types of consciousness arise in that process. So in this case, the consciousness determined by the objects, undesirable object. So if the object is desirable, the I consciousness, receiving consciousness, investigating consciousness, and registration consciousness must be a wholesome resultants. Because due to the result of the wholesome, we can encounter the desirable object. And due to the unwholesome karma, we can encounter undesirable object. That is why we can recognize in that way, we can classify in that way. And also the desirable object can be two kinds according to the quality. So sometimes the moderately desirable, it is the ordinary one, normal, desirable, but still desirable, but not so much special. That are desirable objects what we encounter in our daily life. So at that moment, the investigating and registration accompanied by equanimity. And sometimes the desirable object can be very special. That is exceptionally desirable. It's called the ati-ittaramana. So undesirable object is called the anittaramana. A desirable object is called ittaramana. So ittaramana can be in quality, the special one is ati-ittaramana. So ittaramana refers to the moderately desirable, the ordinary one. And if we use the word ati-ittaramana, it is exceptionally desirable. So for example, if we see the Buddha and appearance very wonderful related to the Buddha, is very powerful to be a result of our wholesome karma. We can say this is special result that is called the exceptionally desirable object. If we cannot say this is so much special, it's ordinary desirable object produced by the wholesome karma, that is moderately desirable. So at the moment of exceptionally desirable object, ati-ittaramana appear in the mind as an object. So that investigating, registration are accompanied by joy. So this is the difference which make by the objects, the condition of the object. Then second one, the plane of existence. How the plane of existence make the difference? So in case of registration, so the registration due to the nature of the registration, it can arise only in the sensual plane. Sensual plane, it cannot arise in Brahmawa. That is why if the process is arising in the sensual plane of existence, the registration will consist of in that process, Then if the process arises in the Brahmawa, registration cannot arise. This is how the plane of existence make the difference or make the determination for the registration moment. Then the individual, what is the difference related to the individual is the worldling and trainings. For the worldling and trainings, the jhana is wholesome. And also sometimes it can be unwholesome, but especially we just need to differentiate with the arahat. That is why the unwholesome is not mentioned here, but it can be wholesome or unwholesome, we can say that. But for the Arahant, only the functional jhana. That is the difference. So make the difference due to the individual. Then the last one, the attention makes the difference or make the determination. So wise attention for wholesome, unwise attention for unwholesome. They can be the condition for the consciousness. So this is how the Lady Sayadaw explained about the condition. Okay, so now we understand the 46 consciousness. In each door, there are 46 consciousness to arise, but they cannot arise in one process. They can arise accordingly. So they can arise in circumstance. Now we understand about that. Let's continue. So the last one, the mind door, we need to study about the mind door. So for the mind door, there are 67 consciousness arise. So what are 67? Mind door at button, 55 jhana, registration. So only 3 moments can be. So between during the time of cognitive process, so 3 types, mind door at button at the beginning, and the 7 times jhana arise, and registration 2 times. Sometimes if it arises in the sensual plane or existence, the registration will be, and if it arises in the Brahma, 2 times of registration will be absent. So only the mind door apartment, after that the jhana. This is the how we already know how the mental process arise, and this is we are counting the consciousness, the possible consciousness in the mind door. So they are called the manodwarika chitta. That's the mind door is manodwara, and the consciousness that arises in the mind door is called the manodwarika chitta. So we have to relate the manodwarika chitta, manodwarika vitti, the cognitive process of mind door. So 3 types include the 67 consciousness. Then, so the remaining 22 cannot arise in the mind door process, cannot arise. So what are the 22 consciousness? Those cannot arise in the mind door. The first one, 5 dot abutting, the pancha dwara vachana. It arises only in 5 dot. And instead of 5 dot abutting, their mind dot abutting arise. That's why the 5 dot abutting cannot arise in the mind door. And Dripancha Vinyana, they arise only in the respective door. So unconsciousness arises only in mind door. They never arise in the mind door. That's why Dripancha Vinyana and receiving. So the receiving too follow the Dripancha Vinyana because it needs the function. The receiving function needs only in the 5 door process. That is why these 2 also cannot arise in the mind door. Then 5 material resultants, 5 and immaterial resultants. For these 2 groups of sublime resultants, we can see 2 together, sublime resultant 9. They are not using any doors to arise. That is why they are door-free. We will study about the door-free consciousness, okay? And now we understand the 22. What are the 22 consciousness? Those does not arise in the mind door, okay? So 67 arise in the mind door and 22 does not arise in the mind door. So altogether is 89. Then let's see the door-free. So Dwara Vimutta, and 19 consciousness. So that is not new here, already studied in the compendiums of function. These are the 3 functions. So they perform the consciousness that perform the rebirth, linking, life continuum, and death. So 19, they are include 19 consciousness. They are door-free. So they are door-free consciousness. And so what are these 19? Already know. The investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. So they are the Ahituka Patisandi, we already know. And 8 grave resultant and 9 sublime resultants. So altogether 19. They are Dwara Vimutta. Why? Why they are door-free? And because their particular function of rebirth, linking, life continuum, and death, they do not occur in the sixth door. They do not occur in the sixth door, in the 5th sense door. They never occur. These 3 functions. And also for the mind door, they are not taking the 19 consciousness are not taking the new object, so that we cannot say that is the cognitive process. They just take the object determined by the less cognitive process of the preceding existence, so past life. In the past life, near death moment, that process, the Javana take the object, one of the object, Kama Nimitta or Gati Nimitta. So we will see in the chapter 5, what are they specifically. Then here, the near death moment of the past life means the preceding one. The Javana take the object, and then the rebirth linking consciousness follow, taking this object of the Javana of near death moment of preceding existence. Then also Bhavanga, life continuum, and Tuti, that also follow to the Patisandi. In this way, they are not taking the new object. They just apprehend the object determined by the less cognitive process of the preceding existence. So the object is not new. The process is not active form. That is passive form. So that's why that the moment of rebirth, linking, life continuum, and death. So during the occurrence of the one of the 19th, performing these 3 functions is regarded as the passive form, not active, because the object is not a new one. So in this way, then we understand these 19 consciousness are door-free, Viti Mutta, door-free consciousness. Then, so let's continue the second part of this compendium of door. So this classification by numbers of door. So the conscious now, we will count the conscious now according to the number of doors. So the first group, Ekadwarika. Ekadwarika means the consciousness that arise in one door, only one door, in only one door. And the second group, the Panchadwarika, so 5 doors, the consciousness of 5 doors. It means there's no consciousness that arise only in 2 doors or 3 doors or 4 doors. So related to the number of doors that they arise. So some consciousness arise in a single door, and some consciousness arise related to in relation to 5 doors, and some consciousness related to the 6th door, Chatwarika Chitta, and some consciousness can different. So sometimes they arise in 6th door, sometimes they arise without any doors. So Dwara Vimutta, door free. So some consciousness considering of in these 2 groups, sometimes Chatwarika, sometimes Dwara Vimutta. So the last group is only Dwara Vimutta. They always arise as the door-free consciousness. They never use the door as the doors to arise. Okay, so there are 5 groups. So in each group, they have the specific number. We can count them. Because they are the numbers of doors depends on the function that they perform. So the past one, the Ekadvarika Chitta, the one door, 36. So what are the 36? Dvipancha Viññāna 10 and the sublime and supramundane Javana 26. So if we count it, divided the Javana into two, the group is sensual Javana. Okay, sense-pure Javana, that is 29. And not sense-pure is sublime and supramundane. It's called, they are 26. So 26, not difficult to count. The 9 sublime wholesome and 9 sublime functional and 8 supramundane consciousness. So altogether 26. And in two groups, there are 36 consciousness. They arise only in one door. It means they occurs only in respective individual doors. For example, the Dvipancha Viññāna, I consciousness arise only in I door. They never arise in other doors. In the same way, the ear consciousness arise only ear doors. Then the last one, there's sublime and supramundane Javana. They arise only in mind door. They never arise in pipe doors. Pipe sense door, they never arise. So in the seeing consciousness, only the sense-pure Javana are counted. The group of sense-pure Javana are counted. And the sublime and supramundane Javana are exception in that process, in pipe door process. So the 10 related to the respective doors of this 5 sense door, and one is the group, another group, 26 related to the mind door. Then for the second group, so what are the consciousness related to only 5 door, not related to the mind door? So they are mind elements. You may remember the mind element 3, triple mind elements, refers to the 5 dot abiding 1 and receiving 2. So Manodwara, Panchadwara Vachana and Sampradechana 2. Altogether, they are collectively called the mind element consciousness. But they never arise in the mind door. Although they are called the mind element, they never arise in the mind door. They arise in the 5 doors. So whenever 5 door process arise, these 3 occurs. And so what are the Chadwarika 6 door? The consciousness occurs in 6 door. So altogether 31 consciousness. So one is joyful investigating and determining one. Determining refers to the mind dot avoiding consciousness. So, and the 29 sense-pure Javana, they can arise as 6 door. So sense-pure Javana arise in the 5 door, and also they arise in the mind door. That's why they are counted in the 6 door. So here, joyful investigating, they can arise in the mind door, performing the function of registration. So here, joyful investigating. So we need to know how they can arise. That is why the number of doors related to the function. So joyful investigating, when it arises, when it performs the function of registration, it can arise in mind door. And so determinant, that is when it performs the function of avajana, investigating. So is mind door investigating. So the usage here determinant actually is better to use the mind door advertence, so that we can easily count it. So sometimes determinant also can explain that when it performs the function of determinant, this type of consciousness, the mind dot abiding, can arise in the pipe doors. So we have to understand that determining consciousness refers to the mind door avatins. So when it performs the function of avatins, avachana kicca, it can arise in the mind door. When it performs the function of determining the uttapana kicca, at that time, it can arise in the pi door process. So in this way, determining consciousness, or in other way, the mind door avatin consciousness can arise in 6 door. So already knows about this since Priya Chawana. So the 31 consciousness can arise in 6 door. They are called the Chatvarika Chitta. Then let's see the another group, 10 consciousness, sometimes 6 door, sometimes door free. Then 2 investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. So with the joyful, it becomes the all 3. But here the 2 investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity that can perform the many functions. So if they perform the function of investigating, they can arise in the 5 door process. And if they perform the function of registration, they can arise in mind door. If they perform the function of rebirth linking, life continuum, and death, they are door free. That is why they are counted in the different group. And also the great resultants, 8. So for the great resultant 8, if they perform the function of registration, they can arise in 6 door, And also when they perform the function of rebirth linking, life continuum, and death, they are door-free consciousness. That is why altogether 10 consciousness are counted as the consciousness of 6 door or sometimes door free. Then Dwara Vimutta, the always door free consciousness are 9. They are 5 material sphere resultant 5 and immaterial sphere resultant 5. Here we should put the resultant. So altogether we can count the sublime resultant 9. They are totally door-free consciousness. So in this way, we can analyze the consciousness according to the number of doors through the arise. And also, we can count the 13 consciousness arise only in 5 doors. So 13 consciousness arise only in 5 doors. You know, you see that 2 groups in first and second. So Dvipanja Vijnana 10 and mind element 3. These 13 consciousness can arise only in 5 doors. Only in 5 doors. And the 26 sublime and supramundane jhana, they arise only in mind door. Okay, now we get another classification. So the consciousness only in 5 door, the consciousness only in mind door. So 13 consciousness are only in 5 door, and 26 consciousness are only in mind door. Then 31 can be in 6 door here. 31 can be in 6 door, and so in the same way, 10 can be sometimes in 6 door and sometimes in door free. Then and 9 always door free. In this way, also we can classify. We can make it another classification. But anyway, if you understand this group, and then you can consider how we can apply in different classification. So this is the way how we need to try to be expert in the Abhidhamma study. Then this is what we need to know in the compendiums of Dao. Then let's continue about the the compendium of base. So we already counted the 6 bases: Chakudwara, Chakuvotu, Sotavotu, Karnavotu, Jinwavotu, Gayavotu for the former 5. And the last one, Harayavotu, refers to the heart base. Then at the beginning, Abhidhamma Sangha analyze the bases according to the plane of existence. So the base in the plane of existence. So in the Karma Loka, since pure world, all 6 bases can be found. All 6 bases can be found. Sometimes, if it is possible, some people are born blind and born in deaf. Some people are deaf in born, deaf in blind in this way. So at that moment, for them, we can say the eye consciousness and ear consciousness are exception. So eye base and ear base are absent for them. That is individually absent. So for the plane of existence, for the whole plane, generally there's no absent. 6 space can be found. That's why all 6 space can be found in sense world. So in the special case of those are born in blind, the eye base can be absent for him. That is individual absent. And sometimes for those who are born in debt, who are deaf in born at that time, so the ear base can be absent for him. That is individual absent. So that's why we don't say that is the absent of the plane of existence. It is the absent of the individual. Then 3 bases of nose, tongue, and body are not arise in the 5 material world, Rupa Loka. Not only 5 material world, they are not found in immaterial world also, because it is clear in material world there is no material phenomena. So all form of 5 are materiality. So that's why this emphasized in the Rupa Loka, the 5 material world. So 3 is not found. So except Asanya Satta. Because in the Asanya Satta, the Asanya Satta, there's no consciousness. There's no materiality for the base, for the base of the unconsciousness, etc. So here, Rupa Loka, we need to understand the 15 5 material world, except Asanya Satta. Then in the immaterial world, no base exists. So this classification is given by the Venerable Anuruddha, the author of Abhidhamma Sangha, in the Compendium of Bhikkhus Vottu Sangha. Then why the nose, tongue, and body base are absent in the Rupa Loka, 5 material sphere? Wow. They mentioned that since they are closer in quality of the sensuous experience than other two refers to the sight and hearing. So the sensuous experience in these 3 bases are stronger than the 2 doors, 2 bases of eye and ears. So for the the Abhidhamma Vibhavini mentioned that because they arise, they're 2 materialities bases of eye and ear arise in the Brahma Wa, 5 material sphere Rupa Brahma world, because they are very beneficial to see the Buddha and Sangha by the eye, and to listen the Dhamma by the ears. So they are very useful, useful tools, other than experiencing sensual experience, other than enjoying a sensual experience. So the other three, so the three, nose, tongue, and bodies are strong in the sensual experience, but not much useful to develop the mental practice, etc. So for the good benefits, they are not much useful. So it explained in that way. So the beings in the Brahma world are the result of the wholesome karma. That's why the useful tools are there, and then the disturbance or the organs lead to the unwholesome are not there. But the commentaries say they have the Brahma, the five material sphere Brahma, have the appearance of the sense organs of these three. Although they don't have the nose base, they have the appearance of the nose, and the form of the nose. And although they don't have the tongue bases, they have the appearance of the tongue base. The tongue is there, but tongue base is not there. And they have the body, but they don't have the body base. This is the commentary or explanation. They have the organs, they don't have the base as the reality of sensitive materiality. Okay, then for the Arupa Loka is obvious, no materiality, no base, because all the base are materiality. In case of the door, the last one is mental door. In case of the base, all six are materiality. That's why there's no base in immaterial world. Then here we need to note about the heart base, which is the last one of the enumeration. That in the canonical Abhidhamma, in the Abhidhamma Pali text, itself does not express about that, does not mention about the heart base by the usage of the heartbeat or Harayawatu. But in the text we can find related to the heartbeat is called the Yanrupa Nisaya Manodhatu Cha Manovinyana Tatu Cha Watandi Tan Rupa Manodhatu Ya Cha Manovinyana Tatu Ya Cha Tan Samyutakanan Chatamanam Nisya Pachina Pachayo. As a materiality to stand on when they occurs, to stand on for the consciousness of mind element and mind consciousness element, two groups of Manodhatu and Manovinyana Dhatu, mind element and mind consciousness element. When they occurs, sometimes they need the materiality to stand on, to base on. That matter is expressed in the Patthana. So that materiality, the matter independence on which the mind element and mind consciousness element occurs. So that materiality is different from the form of five sensitivity matters. That is why the commentary point out by the name of Harayawatu. That must be the matter of the mind element and mind consciousness element must be the Harayawatu. So this is what we need to know about the Harayawatu. The other argument about the Harayawatu are widely explained in the commentary of Dhammasangani, which is called the Athasalini. So many discussion and complaint and the answer from the side of the Theravadian Abhidhamma scholar. So we can see In this case, just I want to share that about the heartbeat Hariyawatu. It does not come directly by the name of Hariyawatu in the Pali Canon itself, Abhidhamma text, but it is we can get the reference for the identification of that materiality in the text itself, which is Abhidhamma. It's called the Hariyawatu. Then, okay, let's continue about the compendiums of base. So in the compendiums of base, as a second part, the former part is the 6 base are analyzed by the plane of existence. As a second base, the Abhidhamma Sangha mentioned the classification by way of consciousness. So 89 consciousness, before we continue our classification according to the base, we need to know the 7 consciousness element, Vijnana Dhatu, among the 18 Dhatu. In the chapter 7, we were studied about the 18 Dhatu. There, in 18 Dhatus, 18 elements, the 7 elements are related to the consciousness. It means the 89 consciousness are divided into 7 according to the classification of elements. So 1 to 5, they already counts the eye consciousness, etc. So 5 elements of sense consciousness. So eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness. They are the form of 5. The 6 is mind element, Mano Dhatu. And the 7 is mind consciousness element, Mano Vijnana Dhatu. Once we have already studied in this lesson series. Then keeping these 7 consciousness elements in the mind, we can study the classification by way of consciousness. Is quite easy. So according to the group I made in here, 1 to 5, 1 group, 6, 7 in separate group. So the 5 bases, 1 to 5. So 5 elements of sense consciousness occur entirely dependent on the 5 sensitive parts. So entirely dependent. That's why without the base of the respective sensuous base, these sense consciousness cannot arise. So for example, by the absence of eye base, for the person who blind in born, because the eye base is absent, eye consciousness cannot arise. Or sometime later during the lifetime, the eye base can be destroyed in any reason. At that moment, because the absence of the eye base, eye consciousness cannot arise. In the same way, all the other ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness are also cannot arise due to the absence of their own bases. That's why 5 bases. So 5 bases and 5 sense consciousness are in one group. So we already analyzed in this way. So when they arise also, they arise based on their respective base. They arise depending on their respective base. So whenever eye consciousness arises, there must be eye sensitivity as a base of that consciousness. Then, second group of mind element, Mano Dhatu. So it arises depending on the heart base. So it does not, although it arises in the 5-door process, as you know, as you may remember, the mind elements, 3 mind elements just arise in the 5-door process. Although it arises only in the 5-door process, they never depends on, they never arise depending on the five sense base. They arise depending on heart base. This is the nature of the consciousness, which is called the Chitta Niyama, the law of the conscious. We cannot make them to arise dependence on the other bases of their own. So the three consciousness of mind element all cause depending on heart base whenever they arise. This is the two group of the 1 to 5, the sense-based, sense consciousness, and then mind element, second group. And the last one, mind consciousness element, 67. So we will study this. And 76. 76, Manovinyana Dhatu, mind consciousness element. So it also divided according to the base. If we analyze according to the base, so 30 consciousness of the mind consciousness element. So among the 76, the 30 consciousness occurs in dependence on the heart base. So whenever they arise, they arise depending on heart base. There are 13. Investigating 3, great result and age, hatred 2. So hatred 2 and the past parts, the sort of body mega 1, and spine producing 1, time material sphere 15. Altogether 30 consciousness. Whenever they arise, they need the heart base to depends on. That's why they cannot arise in the immaterial plane of existence. So the hatred rooted consciousness, they cannot arise in the immaterial sphere. So they just arise only in the sense sphere plane or existence. That's why they always arise depending on the heart base. And for the part box, for the past box sort of body mega, it needs the hearings of the Dhamma instruction or Dhamma talks to arise. Without the Dhamma hearings, they cannot arise. Also, the sort of body mega cannot arise in the immaterial plane or existence. Then mind producing also, it needs when it arises, it needs to express this mind. It needs the materiality. So it just arises in the plane of existence where the materiality arises. And the fine material sphere also, they cannot arise in the immaterial sphere. So they just arise in the plane of existence where materiality exists. So they based on the heart base. They arise based on the heart, depending on the heart base. And the other 42 of the mind consciousness element, it means among the 76, the other 42 of the 76 Manovinyana Dhatu maybe either dependence on or independence of the heart space. So when they arise based on any materiality, there must be the heart space is as their base. So sometimes when they arise in the immaterial world, there's no materiality to base on. That's why they arise independence of heart space. So sometimes when they arise in the plane of existence where the materiality exists, that at that moment they arise based on the heart base. And when there's no materiality, they arise without the base. They are the 42 in number. We can count the rest. So except the hatred rooted, they're 10 unwholesome, remaining 10, and the mind dot about 10. And great wholesome, great functional, immaterial, wholesome, immaterial, functional. Because the immaterial resultant come in the separate way of enumeration. That's why only the wholesome and functional are here. And supramundane 7, except the past part is already, because it can arise only in the plane of existence where the materiality exists. So that types of consciousness always based on the heart base. There we can say the first group, 30 consciousness, always based on the heart base, and the 42 second group sometimes based on the heart base. Sometimes it does not based on this. It does not dependent on the heart base. According to the existence, plane of existence where they arise. Then the last one, the last group of consciousness, which is called the immaterial sphere resultant. So resultant just arises in the plane of respective plane of existence. That is why there is no materiality, including the heart base, in the plane of immaterial plane of existence. So whenever the immaterial plane of existence, immaterial sphere resultant arise, they arise independent of heart base. So altogether, so 76 in 3 groups we can analyze by way of the base when they depends on. This is the classification of the Manoviññāna Dhatu 76. And okay, finally, we already finished the 2 compendiums. You just need to make the comparison. So here, the difference between doors and base of the 5 things. So a door, and what is a door? A door is a channel, the channel through which the chitta and cittasika of the cognitive process gain access to the object. So by the channel or door, by the door of that is the materiality. Using these materiality as the channel, the chitta and cittasika can take the object, their object. Without them, they cannot. That is why they are the door. And for the base, it is not like this. So it is just the physical support for the occurrence of the chitta and cittasika. This is the different function of the 5 sensitive matter as a door and as a base. But when they perform different function, they get the name, although they are the same ultimate reality in essence. Then to know that in the iron process, let's see the iron process. You may remember iron process, cutting off the Bhavanga and Paidot, abiding consciousness, and iron consciousness, receiving, investigating, determining, jhana, registration. This is the process we have to keep in mind. All the moments, in every moment of the consciousness arise through the iron door, because in the iron door process, they all types of consciousness during that process, they arise through the iron door. They use the iron sensitivity as their doors. Then for the base, all types of consciousness except from iron consciousness. So iron consciousness is not there. All the other consciousness in that process, the 5 dot abiding, receiving, so skipping the iron consciousness. So 5 dot abiding, receiving, investigating, determining, and jhana and registration. All the other consciousness in that process occurs on the heart base, Hariyavatu. But the iron consciousness occurs independence on iron base. So the base are different within in one process, but the door is the same. This is the difference between the use of door and the use of base for the chitta and cittasika. And another one, we can identify the difference between door and base. So 19 types of consciousness that perform the function of rebirth linking or life continuum or the Pradisandhi and Bhavanga and we already know. And they are considered as the door-free So they don't use any door to arise. But when they arise in the plane of existence, which include both mind and matter, it means where the materiality exists, and both mind and matter except the asanya sattva. So in the plane where the mind and matter arise, when these 19, one of the 19 consciousness arise, they arise depending on heartbeat. So they are door free, but they based on the heartbeat. They arise they occur depending on the heartbeat. So this also very obvious. The use of door and the use of base are different. Okay, this is the enough information for the beginner level. Otherwise, it's very wide and very complicated, and we cannot keep clearly the information in our mind. And the other information will be included in the honorable levels. So, and that's all for the compendiums of doors and compendiums of base in lesson 29. I'm going to stop here my explanation, and we will continue to the Q&A session. Sadhu, sadhu.
Vandami Bante, what is the difference between bhavanga in the process of mentality and the bhavanga mind door? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
All the bhavanga, we can say they are the mentalities, because bhavanga is the one of the 19 consciousness. So this is already mentality. So that is in the process, that must be in the process of mentality, but it is not in the cognitive process. It is out of the cognitive process. So between two cognitive process, the bhavanga is arising continuously to being as a part of the bhavanga, or being a condition of the bhavanga. So in the mind door, for the dogs, so bhavanga never use any doors, as they are door free. The dwara vimutta citta. So all types of bhavangas are mentalities, and they are door free.
Vandami Sayadaw, I read in one textbook, it mentioned the proximate cause of eye transparent element, Chakku Pasada, is the primary elements born of karma spring or sourcing from craving to see Dhatu Kamada Nidana Kamaja Bhuta Badatanam. Does this mean that a person is able to see is due to his karma or his craving to see? How about a person who is born blind? If a person is born blind, does it mean that he has no eye door? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Actually, the former parts of your question mentioned that the eye door, which is called the eye sensitive materialities, that is Chakupasara, that is created by the karma, and also that is due to the craving to see. So in both sides, we perform the karma under the influence of craving. So for the arhat, the cutting off all the craving, they are not doing they are not performing the activity as a karma. So that is the activities of the actions of the arhats are not called the karma that can produce any result. That's why they are called the functional. So here I would like to explain that the karma does not arise. The karma refers to the produced karma. It does not arise under the influence of cravings. And also sometimes it's useful. The eye sensitivity, or here Chakupasara, is very useful to see the Buddha or to see the Sangha, which is the events to accumulate the wholesome. But still has the craving is there in the background, not involving at that moment, but as standing on the background. So both are the correct. The Chakupasara is produced by the Kamma, but under the influence of the craving to see, the Kamma is performed. Cutting off the craving to see, so we cannot perform. So not only that craving, the other types of craving also include here. But the person is not able to see here. The person able to see is not only craving. Then, as you know, after cutting off the craving, being Arahat, also he can see, and also he wished to see. As you may know, even the Arahat, so I wish to see the Buddha like this. So he wished to see. That is not the craving, but he want to see, and he is able to see. And also for the blind born, the blind born. So the person blind and born, that is due to his unwholesome karma. His unwholesome karma. If we say there, how to say that, due to the disruption of his unwholesome karma, the eye sensitivity absent, not because of he already eradicated the craving to see. So this is the absence of any, the ability. That is not really good. Sometimes we can misunderstand if we say as long as we have the craving to see, we will have the eye. So if we remove the craving to see, the eye will be absent. So this is not correct way of thinking, because the eye is very useful tool. We have to correct in the way we have to considering the eye is useful tool. Possessing useful tool is due to the good karma. By the absence of the useful tools, we get in trouble. So not related to the craving in all times. Sometimes, even the unwholesome karma produce eye as a result. But it is useful still. It can be the cause of trouble. So, for example, for the beings in the hell, if they absent the eye Chakupasara, they cannot see something is horrible. But because they have the eye, they can see through the eye, and that is a kind of torturing, seeing something undesirable. So that's why eye is produced by the karma. So eye can be applied in both sides of good and bad.
Yes, Yado. According to science, our brain is our mind. According to Abhidhamma, mind is the heart base. How do we understand about this? In the case of a person who is brain dead, does this mean that his consciousness or mind still exists according to the Abhidhamma? Thank you, Sadom.
Okay, for the past parts, so the scientists just can identify the brain, just brain as a base of the mind. So they identify the brain due to the brain wave or due to the activities of the nerves. Our mind is arising like this. But for the Abhidhamma, the heart, it comes from the heart base. So the heart base is the profound and the deeper place. So what I understand, and also some Abhidhamma scholar mentioned that the brain, they found the condition for the mind in the brain is due to it comes from the heart base. So they are loosened they are still missing the parts to find out the connection between heartbeat and the brainwave or nerves to produce the mind. So they just can identify the brain and they cannot identify the heartbeat. That is why the Abhidhamma is profound teaching. So there must be some missing by the scientists, not knowing or not enough to having not enough tools for that research. So that is we can understand in this way. So when the science is developed, more and more developed as to the level to enough level to identify all Abhidhamma, they will find the connection between the heartbeat and brainwave to produce the mind, how they are relating each other. So still, up to now, if the scientists practice the meditation to find out the base, heart base, according to the instruction of the meditation teacher, improper meditation teacher, and then they can identify, they may identify the both ways. So brain according to the science and heart according to the Abhidhamma, and what will be the connection? They may find out that they may be able to solve their problems or missing parts. Then the second part, the person who is brain dead. So it does not mean that conscious now. Yes, according to the Abhidhamma, so brain death doesn't make any sense to the existence of the consciousness. So because the consciousness is related to the heartbeats. So we can see in this way.
Dear Sayadaw, does this mind moment Vatabana Kicha determine whether the Javana is wholesome or unwholesome? How do we master this Vatabana Kicha, determining mind moment in our daily life? Thank you, Sayadaw.
Okay, actually, the moment that arise, the determining moments, that type of consciousness is mind-abiding consciousness, performing the function of determining Vatabana Kicha. So that consciousness cannot determine the Javana. That consciousness can determine the object. So the object as it is nature. So when it arises, so in the mind-dot process, it is called the mind-dot abiding. When it is arise in the pi-dot abiding, it is pi-dot process, it is called the determining. So just the difference of the function or doings is very similar. So at buttons, so recognizing the consciousness again. So because the iron-dot process, for example, in the iron-dot process, the 5-dot abiding already introduced to the iron consciousness, and then the process coming through the receiving and investigating, but still is not really, it seems not ready to be into in the Javana process, to relate to the Javana process. That is why the mind-dot abidings arise to determine again for that. That is, so in this case, the determining does not mean whether to be whether it is wholesome or unwholesome. It does not mean in that way. So it means just determine on the object. Determine on the object. Sometimes this is the visual form as visual form, or the sound as a sound. So we can sometimes we can complain, well, is it necessary to determine in that way or not? But just to understand, that is the law of the consciousness, that sometimes although we complain and nobody answer other than the nature. So the nature is answering, showing in this form, in this process. So if we see, we get the answer like this. Then also for the second part, already answered that we cannot want to say that we cannot master or we cannot more practice ourselves whether this one to be wholesome or unwholesome, other than the keeping the yoniso manasikara, wise attention and unwise attention. As you know that in this lesson, I already mentioned, according to the believer Lady Seattle, the jhana process is determined by the attention. So wise attention conditioned to the wholesome jhana and unwise attention conditioned to the unwholesome jhana. So just trying to keep the wise attention all the times, and trying to keep the mindfulness to relate to the wholesomeness, the being and practicing oneself to apply in the positive thinking and positive mentality. So if you are thinking about the yoniso manasikara is quite complicated. So just trying to remember the yoniso manasikara can be the beautiful manifestos with the qualification of the beautiful manifestos. As long as you have the beautiful manifesto, there's no unwholesome. So that the nature related to the beautiful manifesto or the condition of the beautiful manifesto is yoniso manasikara. It is not the Vatavana. It is the different ones.
Dear Sayadaw, we encounter undesirable and desirable objects due to past karma. Could Sayadaw please give some examples? Could Sayadaw explain what kind of karma caused the objects we experience to be moderately or exceptionally undesirable or desirable? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Of course, yes, we have done the different types of karma and in different ways. Sometimes we perform the showing or giving others the good appearance, or sometimes we perform our action giving others the horrible appearance. Although we are performing our action, that action related to the others, the other parts, other people's mind. So it seems, for example, we are doing something ourselves and committing our karma, but for others, it's come with the beautiful appearance. So at that moment, that karma related to the beautiful appearance. So as a result, so that types of consciousness, that types of karma also store in our mental process, store the potency, so karmic potency. So different karmic potency are there. Sometimes showing the beautiful appearance, sometimes beautiful song like this, and giving the beautiful song as the other's object intentionally, and sometimes sometimes the horrible appearance and terrible sound like this. So the karma is very complicated, as we have stored in the long past. And even in one day, we are doing different karma related to the different function and different related to the different appearance. So the karmas are there, and when it's produced, also very complicated way of expressing their results. So desirable and undesirable, as I said, if we are giving good karma servicing to the others in good way, when we encounter, and we will see a desirable object, visible form, whether it can be different, though, visible form, sound, smell, etc. And sometimes unwholesome karma have the time to give its result. At that moment, it changed to the undesirable objects. So form horrible, and the sound is horrible. You disgust him like this something. And this is the produced by the past karma. So because our karma is already complicated in long past, so the production also will be not very simple. And also the moderately and exceptionally undesirable, or so here undesirable object cannot be differential or cannot divide it into two, moderately or exceptionally, because they are included the undesirable, because there's no difference in the feeling to feel. There is only the equanimity. Only the equanimity. There's no joyful or displeasure as a result. So only the equanimity. So there's not differentiate in the Abhidhamma Sangha, or are the same as being the same types of consciousness. Then for the desirable object, it can be different. It can be different in the moderately and exceptionally. So the karma is if you have done the special karma related to this, which is quite powerful to hear to listen the Dhamma, a sweet voice, the Buddhas from the Buddha himself, or sometimes from the Arhat, a very sweet voice and then very beautiful way of Dhamma talk, and which can cause your mind in joyful feeling even at the moment of investigating. That types of karma is called the karma which can produce the exceptionally desirable objects. And the other karma just can produce the normal, enjoyable objects. They are called the karma which can produce the moderately desirable. So this is the only way we can identify. So there's no specific way. Sometimes that you make a wish when you perform the action and to see the Buddha, to listen the Dhamma from the Buddha himself, etc., to encounter these special objects in the life where the karma can produce the result. That type of karma can be regarded as the special karma for the exceptionally desirable objects. And the others are the karma for the moderately desirable objects. Okay.
Vandamisya, three bases of nose base, tongue base, and body base are not found in the fine material world, Rupaloka. Does this mean that the Brahma beings do not need to eat any food? If so, how do they maintain their life? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yes, that is very good question. So they don't need to eat any food. So even the sensual deva in the sensual plane or exists down, in 6 sense pure deva realms, they need to eat the food of their own. But for the Brahma, they don't need any material food. They just need the mental nutriment. So the mentalities, nutriment of mentalities, it is called the piti. So there's they can survive. So by the mentalities of nutriments. So nama ahara, we call that. So that usually expressed as a piti, emphasized in the piti. The piti is in the sutta, you can find the piti pekha. So the Brahmas are piti pekha. So the Brahmas are being, those have the nutriment of the zest or the rapture in their mind that arise and then that maintain their bodies. So that is the food of the Brahma, not the physical food. And also when we study the chapter 7, there were mentioned about the 4 types of nutriment. Okay, there we will discuss more about that. Here, the Brahma do not need to eat any foods for physically, and they just need to develop their mental process containing the piti. That is enough for them. Okay.
Vandamisya, for example, when we see an object, the eye door process will happen one time followed by one mind door process or many mind processes. Subsequently to one, will similar sets of eye door process and mind door process happen many times? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Of course, yes, because if we see something, I mean that it takes times. It takes times compared to the frequency of the mind movements. It usually express the frequency of mind movement is too fast, and in one moment, in one second, it can arise the millions of times. So when we see the iron door process, not only one iron door process, many iron door process and arising the following by the mind door process. So at the beginning, iron door process arise, just iron door process, and we just see. We cannot, we cannot identify something. So when we see something that we can identify or we can recognize something in the common things, is many iron door process and many mind door process is arising in that moment. So that's why you're right. So we see something at the moment, many iron door process, and also to identify the function of mind door process also need. So iron door process and followed by the mind door process. And in the chapter 4, we will study. So in next chapter, we will study about how we see something and how the iron door process arise and perform in some instant. So we will study about that to identify.
Thank you, Pandey, for teaching us. And my name is Zhang. I'm from California, United States. And my question is that I'm still not very clear exactly where the consciousness appears or where it stays, because the five-door consciousness, they come from five-door basis, but then the other consciousness come from heart basis. So let's say, for example, if I see something, if I see a flower or something, and then the five-door or the verting consciousness come up, where is that five-door or the verting consciousness exactly appears? It comes from the heart base, but where is it exactly?
Right.
It's not in the brain, but where is it?
Actually, so in every moment, in every moment, whenever the consciousness arises, it is not existing all the time, just three pieces of Upada, Titi, and Banga. So just arise, and in that place where they base on that place, the consciousness arise and appear. No mentality can make movement, so cannot move. Just arise and disappear. During that time, in three pairs, they perform the function and respective function. So when they arise, five-door abiding consciousness arise based on the heart base, but it uses the door. So the door is using the channel to see through which the visible form to direct to the visible form as it is object. So here the connection between the object and the mind. So mind, the five-door consciousness is based on the heart base. So we consider the consciousness arising in the heart, where the heart is located. And they arise and use the door, the iron doors as the channel. It's not arising there. To see it's using the iron sensitivity as the channel to see the object. So object is not coming into, and the mind is not going outside. But the mind, according to its own nature, and then it can take the object. Like for example, the clarity of the mirror does not go to the object, but it takes the object in the appearance there. Like this is the just example. So the five-door button arise based on the heart base, but use the eye sensitivity to take the object. If it cannot use the eye sensitivity, it cannot take the object, the visible object too. So nothing to arise. So the condition itself is visible form. That's why when it arises, it just automatically use the eye sensitivity as the door. Then okay, where it located according to your question? So the 5 door at button located in the heart base, but use the eye door, but not there, just use. So as you know, when we see through the glass, so our eye is there, but glass is something to use as a tool. And also a second moment, so next to that moment, the eye consciousness arises. So eye consciousness itself arises based on the eye. So eye sensitivity based on. So the place, location is changing even in one process due to the classification of base. But this is this may be quite difficult to identify by our ordinary things of imagination. That in the Abhidhamma, sometimes still difficult to know clearly, but still we can learn their nature. This is what we can learn. To identify can be done by the scientist or the meditator of the up to the level of the Nama Kamatana to see how they arise, where they arise. So for them also, sometimes it may not be quite easy because the frequency is too fast to identify in that way. But sometimes if you can check the 5 dot button in the meditation process, and you can find in the heart base. And also when you are focusing to check, focusing the eye consciousness, the moment of eye consciousness, that at that time, and you can find in the eye sensitivity, the location of eye sensitivity. That is the only thing we can say. Theoretically, for the experience, it must be, it may need the meditation and the powerful meditation. Okay.
So
thanks.
In meditation, if I want to, I don't have that capability, but I'm just assuming that if I want to check the whole eye consciousness process, then in one moment I'm checking the heart base, the next moment I'm checking the eye base, the next moment I'm going back to check the heart base for the receiving. Wow! So just switching like that.
Yeah. Yes. It's possible way is in that way. But in only one process, you cannot follow. The 5 dot button, the location, and also another location, because the mind itself is very fast. You cannot check in that way. So in the different process, you can check, and then you can locate, you can identify their location as a base.
Okay, so the 5 dot averting consciousness is in the heart base, close to the heart. Then the eye consciousness come up close to the eyes, and then the receiving close to the heart again, and then all the others are close to the heart.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Bante.
Bandami Bante, as it is, Bante has said before, if we have seen any unwholesome object, is due to our past karma. Okay, now when it comes to jhavana, when I see such unwholesome object, if I apply yoniso manasikara, does that mean that the jhavana moments cannot be unwholesome? Or I won't generate any more unwholesome for that moment?
Okay, yeah, the object cannot be wholesome or unwholesome. Object can be desirable or undesirable. So the undesirable produced by the unwholesome karma. So although it is produced by the unwholesome karma, and when we can keep the wise reflection, so yonisomanasicara, at the moment of jhana, that is wholesome. That wholesome, not unwholesome. That's why we can change our way of living, and we can change the pattern of the karma. Otherwise, whenever we encounter undesirable object produced by the unwholesome karma, and again develop the unwholesome consciousness, and also it will produce again undesirable objects. So it same as the unchangeable. Yeah, for that, the reason why we can change our manasikara. So although we see something is not good, we can keep our mind in the proper place or in the proper way. That is the yonisomanasicara. At that time, the jhana movement, which can produce the future result and change to the wholesome. So this is the way.
Okay, very clear. Sadhu, Bhante.
Morning, Bhante. Bhante, I like to clarify, if a person have an organ transplant, so subsequently his experience, is it still his own or the previous person's organ transplanted to him? Sadhu.
Okay, very I just say the applied question in the scientist modern world. That if we replace that must be after the replacement, the process of replacement, that belong to that person. So who take that, receive that. So that due to that person that must be related to the person who received. So or something else, whatever, it is replaced. Any organs, because after the replacement, the continuous to arise related to that is due to the karma of that person. So the related to the person who received.
By Dharma friend Pundarika, Bhante, how can we know it is wise attention or unwise attention? Thank you.
Okay, so the easiest way to know is to check whether the jhana movement, or sometimes only the precise movement is difficult to check, and you can check your mind related to the lobha, dosa, moha. If it is related to the lobha, dosa, moha, that is unwholesome mind. If the unwholesome mind arises, we can understand due to the unwise attention. And if we can develop our mind and related to the wholesomeness, or alobha, dosa, moha, then with the other beautiful nature, that types of consciousness is called the wholesome. That wholesome due to the wise reflection. So in this case, I want to make the short question to see the connection of the cause and effect. The reflection or intention, the wise intention is the cause of the wholesome, and unwise attention is cause of the unwholesome. That is why, so whatever cause to the unwholesome mind, whatever attitude or whatever attention cause to your unwholesome, you just need to know that is the yonisomanasicara. And whatever leads to the wholesome, that condition is the yonisomanasicara and good attention or wise attention. So this is the easiest way to identify. The other things, the yonisomanasicara, what is mean that we have to identify with the moment, every moment, what happened, and with the accompanied by something like this. So as mentioned in the chapter of consciousness.
By Dharma friend J.H. Cole, in Arupa world, if there's no hut, base, or door, how do Arupa beings think or keep their respective jhanas? Does it also mean that non-Arya Arupa beings do not have unwholesome chittas? Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Here, okay, according to the nature, if there is no, and then they can be without that one. Because according to the plane of existence, there's no materiality. So the consciousness, its nature, arise without dependence on the materiality. Even the heartbeat is absent there, so they arise without the heartbeat too. So they arise without the base, you can say. So that is why when we classify the mind consciousness element 67, sometimes depends on the heart base, and sometimes not depends on any base, including heart base. So for the second part of the question, the non-Arya person, so there are only the dosa mula cannot arise. The lobha mula and moha mula, the 10 unwholesome consciousness can arise in their life, the arupa realms, in the process of the arupa brahma. So the 10 unwholesome can be. 10 unwholesome can be. So non-Arya in arupa realm, sometimes they can arise. It depends on their way of their yonisomnasikara or ionisomnasikara to the mental objects. So because they don't have any organs to receive, but they don't have sense of object too. So they just have the way of thinking or the way of reflecting on something. And when they practice mentalities, or the object appears in the past, future, and present. So due to the attitude, sometimes it can happen the 10 types or one of the 10 types of unwholesome, except the hatred-rooted consciousness, because the hatred-rooted consciousness cannot arise in the Brahma world. Okay.
Okay, dear Bhante, thank you very much for your teachings today. May Bhante lead us in making aspiration and sharing our merits, please.
Let's make aspiration and share our merit to all the beings. Please follow me. And imina punyakamena.
Imina punya kamena.
Mame bala samagamo.
Mame bala samagamo.
Tatam samagamo hotu.
Tatam samagamo hotu.
Yawa nibbana patiya.
Yawa nibbana patiya.
Idame punyam.
Idame punyam.
Asawakaya vaham hotu.
Asawakayam waham hotu.
Idame punyam.
Idame punyam.
Nibbana sapachayo hotu.
Nibbanasa pachayo hotu.
Mama punya bhagam.
Mama punya bhagam.
Tapa sattanam bhajemi.
Sabha sattanam bhajemi.
Te sabbe.
Te sabe.
Te samam.
Me samam.
Punya bhagam labantu.
Punya bhagam labantu.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante, and everyone for your time and participation. Till we meet on next Sunday, may all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.